Hey everybody, it's Jason Blah here, and it's time for another Bulgarian training session. And you know, guys, I was tired today. Oh man, it's like I'm looking forward to tomorrow to where all I have to do is squat and barbell complexes. And I know that sounds crazy, but yeah, all I have to do is hit a heavy squat. Oh. And yeah, guys, there's some other stuff over there. You don't see the grip training stuff in the corner, but yeah, that's dipping bars. And I've got plate holders on the sides of the rack. And my hex bar will be here next week. Squats. What did we do today? We built up to my 440. I was surprised when I got there because I just felt kind of stiff. I felt kind of slow. And it felt like a grinder. Like when I got to the 440, it felt like a grinder. Then I went to check the footage and I timed it. And it was a 2-second concentric rep on the dot. On the dot. Also, it's interestingly enough, I was chatting with Coach Russell Taylor because he's been watching these every day, and I was joking with him saying, yeah, I'm catching flack for my squat form, all these noobs, and he's laughing going, really, I think your squat form is beautiful. Feel free to comment down below, Russell. You're an actual coach who coaches both physique competitors and power lifters. Let people know, anyone who wants to argue, if you want to chime in down below, let them know what you think. And any of you other guys who are coaches, there's quite a few coaches watching this. A lot of people don't know what they're looking at. They think they're like, oh man, you're good morning it. It's a lane squat. Guys, my lumbar doesn't go lower than 45 degrees at any point. Yes, there's a little bit of hip drive. A little bit of hip drive is fine. It's not a stripper squat. So, notice I do the same thing with the lighter weights. But yeah, we get to the 440, and yeah, I mean, it felt heavy. I'm just shocked. I like got under it and I squatted down, and it felt like a grinder. I actually yelled. I have it muted here. Hopefully I didn't disturb my neighbors. This was on a Saturday morning. It wasn't that early. It was like 11 a.m. But still, 11 a.m. People could be sleeping. I had to yell, and that's the first time I've done that under a squat at home. But it was 2 seconds. So despite how it felt, because to me, it felt like a third attempt at a meet. Despite how it felt, it just shut up clean. Like, watch, here we go. We come down, we sink it, we pop and drop it, boom. 2 second rep. I mean, it's a hair slower than some of my others, but it was fine. For bench press, guys, I feel like I'm getting a little stale on the closed grip. I went ahead and did pin presses. Now, this warm-up, I have it set to the pins, but I don't press off the pins. Now, some people are going to notice when I get to the final heavy set, I do not do an eccentric. Again, we don't need the eccentric. We don't need the eccentric. Trying to get stronger. We're worried about concentric strength. And heavy eccentrics on pin presses. Pin presses will beat your joints up. Any sort of pin work will beat your joints up if you let the bar slam into the stuff. The reason board presses were invented. But in this case, I'm still making chest contact. I'm bringing my chest up. So I crawl under it. You guys kind of see. Here's a trick to a pin press. Run it all the way to the uprights. Crawl under it, roll it down. Now, you guys are going to notice I'm using a slightly wider grip. Why? Because you have to find ideal leverages. With stuff like this, I'm using more of a medium grip. I'm coming out a couple inches from my normal close grip, and you'll notice when I get under it, on the heavier sets, that I'm completely at a 90 degree from the floor with my forearm, because that's kind of my ideal leverages for my bar path. So you'll notice it there. And that's because, again, when you start getting under stuff like this, you have to fight for leverages. When you're pressing off stuff or squatting off of pins from a dead stop, like I discussed earlier, whether it's full range of motion or a partial, you got to find those ideal levers to really make it work. And this stuff is hard. And yeah, I decided to do this because it's harder. I'm going to maybe rotate this in 3 days a week. But what we decided to do with that here, I'm going to be conservative. I started today, by peak set, I go 285. That was heavy enough. So like that's 20 pounds less than your daily minimum on bench. Yes, it is. It's a pin press. We'll load it. So what I like to do for exercise variations on a system like this, and I think works well, like let's say you have a normal exercise you do 6 days a week. Like in this case, my closed grip bench or bench press. Every other day you can alternate in your exercise variation, and you can spend 3 weeks loading it. You can start a hair conservative. And at the end of that 3 weeks, you're probably done with it. And if you feel like it, you can go back to your 6th day on your normal lift, or you can add in another variation. In this case, I don't want to stretch reflex. I don't want to stretch reflex right now. So if I wanted to do a stretch reflex exercise, in this case I just want to build more starting strength to get more explosive out of the bottom. If I want to add a stretch reflex for the better hypertrophy and all of that, I'll do dips. That's why I have dipping bars. But I was happy with that, 285 for the pen press, and I'll throw that back in at the end for you guys. Strict press, came in, did my 155. Felt okay. Felt okay. I go to 205 and I hold it at the top. I do my daily minimum just so, again, I held it for a few seconds at lockout, and people who do this understand if you stop 2 inches short of your lockout, you're not going to be able to hold it on a heavy set of any press, of any type, for a couple seconds. All right? Just showing you guys this is my range of motion. That's what my elbows and everything do. Again, we'll see it here. So I do my 205. I come in, ramp up, get my wraps on, lay back, press it up and drive forward. Throw it behind your head and drive forward. That's all there is to it. But yeah, I mean, I hold it at the lockout for a few seconds. I thought about going up, but I'm like, you know what? I'm done pressing for this week. I don't want to do any more pressing. My pressing muscles are all fatigued. They all hurt. My pecs hurt. My delts hurt. My triceps hurt. I'm done. Other than, you know, some barbell complexes. There'll be push presses in there, but it's going to be lightweight. It's just conditioning. I'm done for the week. That's been plenty of pressing. Hopefully that exercise variation will help. And just like when I add in those hex bar deadlifts next week, I'll get some extra lower body stimulation. So we'll cut down to overhead pressing 3 days and chest pressing 6 days. And I'll mess with some variation for now to keep myself adapting. I feel less bloated today, by the way. That's good. Chin-ups. I don't hurt as bad. 2 days of not chinning up, everything stopped hurting. This warm-up, pulled up, didn't hurt. Nothing, no pain. I do the 155. Very minor amount of discomfort, literally nothing like I was experiencing a few days ago. I just needed a few days to heal, so that meant, you know, a day of no pulling, a day of pen lay rows, right? Let everything heal up. My biceps was just shot. It's just flat all it could handle. Again, that's an old injury, and some people are saying, talking about the mobility. Well, you need to understand there's going to be tightness in there because, number one, I have scar tissue through the muscle. Number two, my tendon is woven back together. Like my tendon snapped in the middle. It didn't detach from the bone. There was a chunk of my big, long chunk of my tendon still stuck to the bone. They wove it back together. And then I got an infection in that bicep, right? I got an infection in that bicep after the surgery, and I lost tissue inside there. There's scar tissue through the middle. There's a channel of scar tissue through the middle of my bicep. So it hurts sometimes, and this has really been hurting it. But, you know, I have to train it. What are my other options? Not to train? Not to train my bicep? Not to do chin-ups? I mean, come on, are we serious? You got to fight through it. Sometimes it needs to heal, though. And hopefully, again, that's maybe breaking up some of that scar tissue. So I felt strong. Like that 155 was easy. I'm like, let's try 80 from a dead hang today, right? Because, you know, before we did the 80 not from a dead hang. I'm like, I'm going to get in and try it. It's my last chin-up day of the week. I'm not going to chin up tomorrow. Let's do it. Let's get in and get a PR. It was pretty good. I got the hang from the bottom. I struggled. I got it a hair higher. I didn't quite touch my chest. I'm still happy with it, though. That's progress. It's progress. Good stuff, baby. But yeah, okay, so the pen presses. What do we do in here? What's the point? We're breaking up the eccentric concentric chain, learning to get tighter and get more explosive from a dead, hard stop at the bottom. I do not have an eccentric rep to store energy, right? You have to build your own tightness. A lot of times your eccentric rep helps you build tightness and store energy. In this case, I'm having to get under it, press my chest up against it. I'm arching a little there and just exploding. You got to just drive. So we'll work on this exercise for 3 weeks or so. We'll work on it. Get more power out of the bottom and alternate it with a bench every day. Work on getting more efficient levers. Get better, improve, and do it. But there you guys go. Anyone curious how to do this, you set everything in tight. You get set up, you get that bar set to where it's still at a dead stop, but where you can arch up and touch your chest. You slide it down, you get tight, find your levers. Notice I'm having to adjust my hands a little bit, adjust my elbows. You get the ideal leverages, then you drive up. On stuff like this, if you don't get the levers perfect, it's going to be a lot harder, and it's hard enough as it is. We don't need to make it any harder. So there we go. We're getting some exercise variation. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.